Okay, hello again. I guess this is my second video. Probably gonna stop counting after this one. I had this idea I wanted to show you guys. So generally, just zip around here. We get these greenhouse kits or just get hoops on Kijiji when we're building our greenhouses. But sometimes we come across these Sometimes we come across these like Shelterlogic garages, the frames from the garage, and people give them to us because we're a farm and people want to give us shit. I don't know. So I just wanted to show you a greenhouse that we're actually building right now using two of the Shelterlogic double wide frames. There's ups and downs to using them. And I wanted to talk about them, but yeah, I'll go through it a little bit and show you about that. So I'm going to switch the camera around and then I'll show you the greenhouse, which is right here. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, the finished product looks pretty nice. Pretty happy with this. This is two 18-foot wide by 20-foot long Shelterlogic frames. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to ditch the skins that they came with, but it's a greenhouse, so those wouldn't make sense anyhow. So yeah, let me take you through some stuff and I'll show you how we modified it for greenhouse use. Pretty much ready for plastic right now. The first thing is I've put a 4x4 pressure treated mud sill on it. And you don't have to do that. I guess you could have the anchors straight on the ground. Those are the anchors right there. Just a auger type anchor. There's 6 of them in this. Yeah, so you don't have to do that, but it is just nice for working alongside with the rototiller and stuff. The next modification is what I call the hip board. This is the hip board here. I'll just swing it over to this greenhouse. But so this hip board, basically this will be the roll-up side in the future. From my last video you saw that we just throw dirt for the first season and then we put a roll-up side on it after. I guess I should show you what a roll-up side is. Anyhow, that's a hip board for that. This is, I call them rails, but this is what do they call this? Wiggle wire channel or C channel. The reason for that is because the profile of it kind of looks like a C shape, and that just lets the wiggle wire ride into it and hold the plastic nicely. There will be C channel or rails running along each end wall hoop, but I haven't put those yet because when you put plastic as your end walls, you put the end wall plastic underneath the rail, so I need the plastic before I can do that. So I could show that later, but I can't do it quite yet. Yeah, so this was just assembled sort of as though you were assembling one, but we just extended it, and instead of putting the end hoop, we just kept going and added more of the hoops. We ran into a couple snags, which is what I wanted to show you. You can't, unfortunately, just slap 2 of these together and expect them to work as well as a single unit would. The main reason being is a lot of these parts are not agnostic. These pipes are designed to be an end pipe or a middle pipe or that kind of thing. And so you might not have all of the exact pipe types that you need because of this sort of non-agnostic design. And I guess what I mean by agnostic is that it doesn't matter where it goes. So here's an example. This pipe here is actually 2, they call it plain-ended pipes. Try and get the brightness going a little better here. It's 2 plain-ended pipes that we've fused together, put a seam on together, using a piece of, this is actually roll-up side strapping. So we've just strapped them together. So that was one way that we got around some of that agnostic pipe issue, non-agnostic pipe issue. This is a normal joint where it's swedged, so the left pipe actually slips under and into the right pipe here. That's what it's supposed to be like, but we ran out of that because the plain-ended tubes are used for the end hoops, so we ran out of those. Yeah, so we ran out of that on the last hoop, so that top rail, you can't really see it, but it also strapped together, that one as well. So that was an issue we ran into. We ended up losing a hoop. I don't know, can you see that hoop in the distance? Because we didn't have enough parts. So we had to give up one hoop. But this is still 40 feet long because as you build longer greenhouses, you use hoops more efficiently. I call it the 0th hoop law, because you only need one 0th hoop, which doesn't add any length to the greenhouse. I'll try and add like a graphic for that later. Another issue I ran into is these Shelterlogic greenhouses have this honestly stupid end hoop design. I'm gonna grab. So I ended up taking the angle grinder and just chopping these straight off. But the end hoops on these, the feet, instead of having just a standard sort of flat foot, it's got this weird, this is not the original mate to this, but it's got this weird 90-degree hoop thing, which is really annoying because this gets caught on the rototiller or the plastic, depending on which way you put it. So I just fucking chopped that off. I put a little 45-degree piece in here, and then I've, can I get in there? I've just metal screwed that on to the 4x4. Not the most skookum thing you ever saw, but I had to do it. You know, again, I was given this, so it's not ideal, but I made it work. What else do I want to say here? Man, the lighting's beautiful. That's pretty much it. You know, works pretty well. For the fact that it was free and pretty much brand new, I'm not complaining. But there are some really goofy parts with this. But if you step back and look at it, you know, if you're halfway decent with some tools, you couldn't really tell that there's a major issue with it. Yeah, and it's a way to sort of reclaim these structures because there's a billion of them around. People throw them out all the time. Yeah. I just want to show you one more thing, which is I want to show you the parts in the kale house again versus the parts in this one. So just real quick, we'll just go through the parts of one hoop. So this one's got the foot, the first piece. There's this clamp thing for this low bar, which I don't understand. We got a second piece, a third rounded piece, fourth piece, fifth piece, middle piece, seventh piece, eighth piece, ninth piece, 10th piece, 11th piece, back to the other foot. So it's like 12 pieces per hoop, and each piece is connected with a carriage bolt. So assembling these things, kind of a pain in the ass. So we've got 11-piece hoop. Each of those pieces, each of those joints has play, like there's tolerance in it, which makes it weeble wobble a lot more. Definitely using a lot of AVE's terminology here, so if he watches this at some point, shout out to you, buddy. Okay, let's look at the kale house hoop. Kale hoop. Okay, we've got the ground peg, which this guy, you just sledge that into the ground, no foot at all. Then we've got, I've just put a little Tech screw to hold the hoop on. Then we've got the hoop. Okay, the hoop is a single piece, no joints, no bolts, the whole way across, single piece, and then bam, back to the ground peg. So this is 3 pieces versus 12 pieces. The other nice thing here, try and get a good shot of this, is these purlins, pieces that connect the hoops. The way they've designed them is totally agnostic. So all of the purlins are the same. It doesn't matter if it's a middle purlin or an end purlin. They are all identical. which means you can change the length of your greenhouses without having to sacrifice any hoops, without any losses. And it means that there's fewer parts to manufacture, which I don't understand why they manufacture so many parts for those other ones. And generally a less goofy design to work with. So, you know, this was essentially a free 40-foot by 20-foot greenhouse for, we're going to do flower production in here. So again, I'm not complaining, but there are pros and cons to using these things. But it was free, and it's, you know, we're upcycling this shelter into a sweet greenhouse. So yeah, cool. Bonnie, hi girl. Okay, yeah, so that is basically the Shelterlogic greenhouse. This is, let's try and get it in the frame. This is the second one I built. The first one's just behind it. It's only 20 feet. So I only ran into these like merging problems this time around. I do recommend doing this because it's cheap. If you can get one of these shelters, you know, for free or cheap or on Kijiji, it's a really easy way to get into the greenhouse game without spending a lot of money. I'll put links and stuff into where we get the components to kind of retrofit them. Yeah, it's a good way to save a bit of money at the farm and to get going with greenhouse stuff. Cool. Well, thank you, and yeah, feel free to ask any comments below, as per usual, and I will try and answer them. Yeah, cool.